So, here's the situation. In the same South Africa, where politicians travel with a convoy of cars longer than the unemployment queue, we now have a public health disaster brewing that makes load shedding look like a picnic. In a country that once prided itself on being the beacon of post-apartheid progress and medical breakthroughs, clinics are reportedly turning away HIV positive foreign nationals, many of them Zimbabweans and other SADC citizens, simply because their immigration paperwork isn't in order. Imagine that, needing life-saving medication and being told, sorry, your visa expired, now go die quietly. If Kafka and Orwell had a baby, it would write this plot. This is not tabloid rumor or Twitter hysteria. It's a verifiable, documented, and increasingly common occurrence. The very clinics built with taxpayer money and stocked with medicine funded by America's PEPFAR initiative are slamming the door in the face of human beings whose only crime is being sick in the wrong country. South Africa has become a nation where your right to live can now be invalidated by a missing entry stamp. And let's not forget, these aren't elective procedures we are talking about. This is HIV medication. Medicine that must be taken every day, on time, or else the virus mutates, spreads, and becomes resistant. Let that grotesque irony sit with you. A country whose constitution is hailed as one of the most progressive in the world is now presiding over a system that might as well say your immune system matters only if your citizenship does. This isn't just cruel, it's maliciously negligent. The same government that once championed treatment access for all under President Thabo Mbeki's Redemption Act is now watching, arms folded, while vulnerable people are forced into the shadows of desperation. Welcome to the Rainbow Nation, where the color of your passport determines whether you get to see another rainbow tomorrow. But wait. This isn't just cruel. It's scientifically stupid. Let's speak plainly because clearly someone in the policy department missed biology classes. HIV doesn't care where you were born, who you voted for, or what your immigration lawyer told you. HIV is a virus, merciless, borderless, and entirely unimpressed by bureaucratic red tape. So when health clinics deny access to life-saving antiretroviral drugs based on someone's passport or visa status, they are not solving a migration problem. They are creating a viral time bomb with a countdown no one can control. This isn't about emotion. It's about science, statistics, and the kind of brutal logic you can't spin with a ministerial speech. Studies have shown that ARVs don't just protect individuals, they protect entire communities by reducing viral loads and preventing new infections. Deny one person treatment and you don't just risk their health, you risk the health of everyone they come into contact with. The virus mutates, it spreads, it evolves, and eventually it comes knocking on the door of someone you know. We are on the verge of creating an unregulated underground network of survival, where sick people will either skip treatment or find it on the black market, where expired pills are sold next to bootleg cigarettes. And that's not speculation, that's history. We have seen this before in Zimbabwe, in Mozambique, in Nigeria, where healthcare deserts gave rise to desperation economies. So tell me again, how exactly does this policy protect South Africa? Because from here, it looks like government-sanctioned self-destruction. Let's be blunt. Viruses don't carry passports. They don't ask if you were born in Musina or Mutare before they infect the next person. So when clinics say you are foreign, we can't help, what they are really saying is go infect someone else, preferably a citizen, so we can blame you later. Genius public health planning, isn't it? Imagine designing a health system so backward that it actively invites the spread of disease in order to enforce immigration law. That's what's happening here. We are weaponizing medicine, using access to life-saving drugs as a tool of exclusion instead of compassion. And when you weaponize medicine, you don't just fail morally, you fail medically. You create the very outbreaks you claim to be preventing. It's like throwing petrol on fire and then blaming the wind. What makes this even more tragic is that people being turned away aren't just strangers. They are our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends. Some have been in South Africa for years, working low-wage jobs, building houses, cleaning hospitals, raising children. They pay rent, pay VAT, and contribute to the economy in ways too inconvenient for politicians to admit. Yet when they need help, when they are sick, weak, and vulnerable, they are tossed aside like unwanted luggage at a border post. Where is the Ubuntu in that? Here is a truth bomb for the emotional policymakers out there. When you deny ARVs to foreign nationals, you don't just punish them, you endanger the locals too. Because desperation will always find a workaround. Some undocumented people will sleep with locals. Some South Africans will sell their maids for survival. And some clever crooks will start a black market in antiretrovirals. And just like that, decades of progress will go up in smoke faster than a politician fleeing a corruption inquiry. This is the part that should terrify everyone, regardless of their views on immigration. HIV thrives in silence, in stigma, and in systems that prioritize paperwork over people. The longer we push vulnerable populations into the shadows, the more we create perfect conditions for resurgence. We are not just risking the health of migrants. We are playing Russian roulette with the entire public health system. And let's not kid ourselves. This crisis won't stay hidden for long. Eventually, ARVs will become the new street currency, exchanged in alleys and taxi ranks. Hospitals will face cases of treatment-resistant HIV. Clinics will be flooded with new infections. And when that happens, the public will demand to know how things got this bad, completely ignoring the fact that they cheered on every short-sighted decision that led us here. This is not xenophobia. This is xeno-suicide. Let's call it what it is: national self-sabotage disguised as sovereignty. It's one thing to control your borders. It's another thing entirely to shoot yourself in the foot because you are afraid someone else might wear your shoes. South Africa has every right to secure its immigration policy, but not at the cost of becoming a viral incubator for diseases we once had under control. Imagine if during the COVID-19 pandemic, countries had denied treatment based on nationality. The death toll would have quadrupled. Every public health professional knows in a pandemic or any viral crisis, you treat first, document later. You save lives now so you don't bury more bodies later. That's the whole point of medicine. It's not a political favor. It's a moral and biological necessity. And yet, here we are, watching one of Africa's most advanced economies unravel decades of HIV work just to make a political point about who belongs and who doesn't. The irony, if this continues, no one will belong to the category called safe. Not the migrant, not the citizen, not the child born tomorrow, because viruses don't discriminate. But foolish policies certainly do. So, what's behind this? Well, the ANC government was repeatedly warned not to prop up Zimbabwe's zombie government. ZANU-PF, a party so corrupt that even Lucifer is probably taking notes. For years, South Africa looked the other way while Zimbabwe banned, sponsoring quiet diplomacy, investing in fake elections, and hosting Grace Mugabe's shopping sprees. Now, the collapse of Zimbabwe's healthcare system has become South Africa's headache, and suddenly everyone wants to act surprised. Let's rewind. For nearly 2 decades, South Africa shielded ZANU-PF from international sanctions, criticism, and accountability. It played the loyal big brother role, offering sanctuary to Zimbabwe's elites while ignoring the suffering of its people. Even when millions fled across the Limpopo, ANC leaders dismissed it as a temporary migration. Well, the chickens have not only come home to roost. They now coughing, sneezing, and testing positive for HIV. This is the real cost of quiet diplomacy. Loud consequences instead of confronting the root cause of Zimbabwe's collapse. South Africa allowed the rot to spread, and now that rot has reached its own clinics, its own citizens, its own communities. And if you think denying ARVs is going to fix that, then you probably think load shedding is a long-term solution to climate change. And what about SADC? That glorious club of presidents for life and professional fence sitters. They should have called an emergency summit yesterday. But unless someone announces there is oil under Bedbridge, don't hold your breath. Meanwhile, communities on the ground are forced to improvise healthcare via WhatsApp messages that read like this. How are you, big brother? I'm fine. How are you? I need your help. Do you know anyone who sells ARVs? They have refused to give them at the clinic because of a passport issue. This is the heartbreaking new normal. Our people are now shopping for survival on messaging apps. WhatsApp has become the new clinic, the new referral system, the new pharmacy. This is what happens when governments fail. When leaders debate budgets, citizens barter for medicine. When policies collapse, dignity dies in silence. And in the middle of this, real people are getting sick, growing weaker, and facing death, not because treatment doesn't exist, but because politics got in the way of humanity. Let that sink in. Begging for HIV medication on WhatsApp, while bureaucrats in Pretoria sip bottled water imported from France. Ordinary people are out here trying to smuggle survival through back doors. And the worst part, this is entirely preventable. The medicine exists, the funding exists. What's missing is the political will and the moral courage. What's missing is the recognition that no human being deserves to die because their ID is written in the wrong font. What's missing is leadership, real leadership, not the performance kind that cuts ribbons at clinics while people die at the door. To be clear, nobody supports illegal immigration. But we also don't support biological warfare disguised as immigration policy. You cannot starve a virus to death by punishing the host. You cannot fix a broken asylum system by creating a medical apartheid where only citizens get to live. We need policies rooted in compassion, not fear. We need healthcare strategies that look beyond borders and ask the only question that matters. How do we save lives? Because if saving lives isn't your goal, then you don't belong in government. You belong in theater where drama is expected but not deadly. Let's not become the generation that undid decades of progress with one stupid preventable decision. There needs to be a solution, a rational, regional, resource-sensitive policy that recognizes we are in this together. South Africa has every right to protect its borders, but not at the expense of becoming the epicenter of a new HIV wave. And if we let the virus take over again because of this foolishness, trust and believe the coffin won't care where the person was born. This is Zimwaves TV, where we speak louder than the ministers and clearer than the clinic posters. If your government is allergic to facts, don't worry, we've got the vaccine. Like, share, and subscribe before they ask for your passport at the pharmacy.